the Canadian government won't say which companies in China it's been buying medical PPE from because it wouldn't be in the interest of national security to divulge which companies tried to rip us off. Early in the pandemic, Justin Trudeau, in a catastrophic moment of, consistent virtue signaling, sent Canada's strategic supplies of medical PPE back to China. Do you remember that? And then the PPE that Canada got in replacement from China was faulty or compromised. And then when Canada sent 2 planes over to pick up replacements for the replacements, the planes came back empty. Well, now the Canadian government thinks that the public should not know the names of the China-based PPE suppliers who sold us the faulty stuff in the first place and then didn't replace the faulty stuff. And these are companies who could potentially be using slave labor to manufacture the PPE that they're selling us. The information today comes to us from an order paper question asked by Conservative MP James Cumming. The Edmonton-based MP asked, with regard to contaminated swabs and faulty or rejected N95 masks purchased by Public Services and Procurement Canada, which suppliers provided these items? And since January 1st, 2016, what other purchases have been made by the government from the suppliers, broken down by date of purchase, item or service purchased, number of units of item or service purchased per transaction? This is a great question because first, if Canada has in the past bought items from suppliers who are selling faulty swabs and masks now, how long has our PPE supply chain been compromised by this faulty junk? It's kind of scary when you think about it, right? But secondarily, the public needs to know the names of these companies because, as the New York Times has uncovered, some of these companies are using persecuted Uyghur slave labor to manufacture these masks, and then the masks are making their way to North America. The public deserves to know if the Canadian government is doing business with slave traders in China, and the government is paying these purchase contracts so they know exactly who they're doing business with and who they're paying with your money. The government knows which companies sent bad masks because they know which companies are supposed to be replacing the faulty items. However, the Liberals, they don't feel like Canadians need that information. Look at the response here to Cumming's question from Public Service and Procurement Canada. Through this pandemic, there has been a surge in global demand for PPE and medical supplies needed in response to COVID-19. As a result, the government is operating in a highly competitive marketplace and facing the risks posed by fragile international supply chains. Some of the procurements being carried out in response to COVID-19 are done under a national security exception, meaning the associated solicitation documents are not published on the buy and sell website. The government is not operating in normal circumstances, considering the fierce global competition for the same products. If the government was to disclose information about specific contracts or suppliers, that could jeopardize Canada's supply chains for these life-saving products, putting the delivery to Canada and into the hands of frontline healthcare workers at risk. Or it could reveal that the government is overpaying for garbage manufactured by Uighurs in concentration camps. And I think that's the real reason the government won't tell us who is making the masks Canadian healthcare workers need to wear for work. Justin Trudeau has chosen to protect the Chinese companies who ripped us off in the first place instead of being transparent with the people who got ripped off, the taxpayer. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. Justin Trudeau has been deeply compromised by the Chinese government. He's hiding their crimes. He won't even tell the Canadian public which Chinese companies ripped them off by selling us faulty PPE. Now, if you want to learn the full truth of just how contaminated Justin Trudeau is by the Chinese state, I suggest getting my boss Ezra Levant's new book, China Virus. Just go to chinavirusbook.com.